The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past is my favorite 2D Zelda, and I could play it over and over again. Unfortunately, with a game like Link to the Past, you play it once, you play it 100 times. Luckily, thanks to the Link to the Past randomizer community, we can take all the items in the game and shuffle them around to have a brand new experience every time we pick it up. To beat this run, we need the 7 crystals to open Ganon's Tower, which are also randomized amongst the 10 dungeons, pendants included. We set up our file with a completely real name and hop into the randomizer where our first item, usually a lamp, is now 50 rupees.
I can't stop winning!
From here, I follow a pretty standard route to get as many items as possible that are open to us from the beginning. It starts with the castle sewers for 2 checks, partway into the castle for 1, an efficient save and quit to reach the sanctuary for another, and into the Lost Woods where we find what I consider to be an S tier item, the Zora Flippers. To the south of the woods is Kakariko Village, where we have a total of 14 items available for us to take. A slight problem is that to get some of these items we need bombs, and I have none. This only locks us out of 4 items, which isn't a lot, but that means we'll eventually have to come back for them. I did a quick check on Race Ledge to find a shield that we can't get without bombs, but we'll be back. With another save and quit, we start the southern half of Hyrule. The first stop is the dam, where we find, of course. We take these back to Kakariko Village and get our items that were blocked, which, spoiler alert, sucked. So we tackle Mini Moldorm Cave on the southern loop and find our next S tier item. 5 chests. Pegasus boots. Big. Oh, and a shield. With the Pegasus boots, we can now travel much faster, which benefits us greatly to have this early on. We can now run our way to Ice Cave, which will give us the Moon Pearl, allowing us to stay in our Light World form in the Dark World once we reach it. At this point, any randomizer will start to branch off to do different things depending on the items we have received thus far. Lucky for us, we can take care of checks right next to us. Using the secret waterways of the Zora, we travel up to the northern part of Hyrule that got a waterfall with a cave behind it, find a solid A tier item, the Power Glove. Right now, we're too broke to go band for band against King Zora, but we can still steal whatever is on the ledge, which is a sword upgrade for the Master Sword. Let me take a second to explain item upgrades. In the randomizer, there are some items part of a progression line, such as the tunics and the gauntlets, where there are multiple of the same item types. There are 2 other locations where we can get the sword item, so if we had gone to another sword upgrade and come back, this would be the Tempered Sword. With all that cleared up, we rob a homeless man of the last of his possessions, and finally start on our way to clear the palaces. Our first stop is Eastern Palace, which unfortunately doesn't yield much, and furthermore we can't complete it without the bow, leaving us to move on empty-handed. After some more running around and cleaning up, I realized that back in the well in Kakariko Village, I found the hammer, another A tier item, which means we can access the Dark World and have been able to for almost 15 minutes now. We breach the Dark World above Kakariko Village, which happens to be called Thieves Town in the Dark World, and also happens to have the dungeon Thieves Town. What a shocker. This dungeon has a very linear path. Open all 4 chests in the beginning, which one is guaranteed to have the big key. The path around to reach the basement, the skylight room for blind, and the basement which has the maiden we need to rescue, which is actually just our dungeon boss, Blind. Tower builders should stay on the up and up. Blind is by no means that hard of a boss, and not at all a pretty woman. But honestly, I really suck at not getting hit by everything. No, I'm not very good at, the blind fight. Yeah. Leaving the dungeon, I remember to actually check the map to get our dungeon lineup. To unlock Ganon's Tower, we need to complete Eastern Palace, Tower of Hera, Skull Woods, Thieves Town, Ice Palace, Misery Mire, and Turtle Rock. With no time to waste, we start checking as many locations in the Dark World as we can. We spend money to dig up more money, steal a nerd's textbook, and raid Hype Cave. I'm not sure why it's called that, but it definitely lives up to its name. You disagree? Hey, you know what? That as is, you're right. Okay, Fire Rod, Quake Medallion, Flute, Rupee. The flute will be one of our best items, another S tier if you will, but it won't be of any use to us just yet. We take a detour to the pyramid to find a big shield, which starts to grind the gears in my head. If you recall the explanation on sword upgrades, that means if we go to a place we've seen a shield, we'll find the next upgrade. On the way to the Mirror Shield, we take a quick detour through Kakariko Village to free this bird from the Wind Vein. How could it even breathe in there? The bird makes moving around Hyrule far easier by taking us to preset spots throughout the map. With the Mirror Shield now in hand, we can quickly drop off our shrooms with the witch and visit King Zora again to go band for band, and we flex on him. But at what cost?
What did it cost?
480 rupee. Back in the witch's hut, the witch pays us with a glove upgrade, getting us the Titan's Mitt, also S tier. After a few item checks, we head west and run through Desert Palace, which has the green pendant. While it's not a crystal, the green pendant can still get us an item check from Sriracha. The desert itself has a Cane of Samaria, B tier, and an easy boss to kill. And from there we can pop into the Dark World to take out Misery Mire. This dungeon absolutely sucks, mainly because I don't know the layout of the place and the enemies just suck. The standard route doesn't provide us much, which left us down to the last 2 checks in the dungeon. The first check is the boss item from Vitreous. This fight is typically done with a bow to pick off the small guys, but that's fine because our sword still hits them. The only issue is, they hit harder. We unsurprisingly die, but go back to check the last chest in the dungeon before we leave. Okay. Almost didn't make that. Hook shot, baby! Oh, I'm so glad I came back in here for that. With our current inventory, Death Mountain is our next stop on the list with checks galore. We find Grandpa wandering around again and take him back to the nursing home and find the Tempered Sword upgrade in Spectacle Rock Cave. And speaking of caves on Death Mountain, time for my favorite cave in the game. Paradox Cave! The way it's structured makes no sense, because the bottom entrance takes you to the upper level and the upper entrance takes you to the lower level. Like this. Luckily, we find the mirror in the cave and make our way out on top and into the Dark World with the next dungeon right at our feet. Turtle Rock. Despite it being one of the longest and hardest dungeons in the game, I actually really enjoy this dungeon and know where everything is, making this a breeze. Right off the bat, we find the bow, bringing us only 2 items away from Go mode, the state of having all items necessary to beat the game. By the end of the dungeon, we find our final sword upgrade, the Gold Sword, and leave before fighting the boss, because we don't yet have the Ice Rod, which is required to defeat said boss. On our hunt for our last Go mode items, we take out the Tower of Hera. While we don't find anything worthwhile, we finally have our first crystal at 1 hour and 25 minutes in. Back in the Dark World, in one of the last few checks on Death Mountain, the Ice Rod reveals itself in a cave that I had access to before even entering Turtle Rock, meaning I could have just done this before the dungeon and fought the boss in the first place instead of having to go back through the dungeon again, but we can now fight Trinex. We need to strike the fire and ice heads on Trinex with the opposite element rods to damage them. I didn't quite consider a bigger issue I may face in this fight though. Bro, I'm literally cooked. I have no magic. Having no actual way to defeat the boss, I bit the bullet and left Turtle Rock, knowing I'd either have to find the half magic upgrade or get a magic potion before I could fight the boss again. In preparation, we stop by the witch's hut and get a magic potion before deciding to go back to some sections we left unfinished. In Thieves Town, we kill Blind once and for all and obtain our second crystal. In our path of searches, we find another bottle that is already filled with magic, making our purchase of 60 rupees mean almost nothing. Almost. From here, we proceed to Skull Woods and clear the whole dungeon in one go, netting us our 3rd crystal. We finish Eastern Palace for our 4th, and Misery Mire for our 5th. The Ice Palace is next on our quest for the crystals, and I gotta say, I don't like this dungeon. It has all the reasons I hate Misery Mire with the layouts and the enemies, but this time, with ice! All in all, Ice Palace wasn't that horrible, and I actually remembered the chest route, and it's a good thing that I did. Okay, there they are. We're Go mode. We are officially in Go mode. We finish out Ice Palace by defeating Cold Stare and claiming our 6th crystal, and then finally head back to the dungeon that spit on me not only once, but twice. And this time, I'm gonna spit on it. This time around on Trinex went pretty much the same as the last, and I ran out of magic again. But this time I had the 2 green potions to supplement me, and I was able to take down the heads. In his next phase, I was closing in on the win, however... Yeah, wow, it hit ice and all your momentum is just gone. Luckily, magic wasn't the only thing I had in bottles because we got revived by a fairy and defeated Trinex for our 7th and final crystal. All that's left now is our confrontation with Ganon at Ganon's Tower, which just so conveniently happens to be on the other side of the mountain. In the tower, I like to play a little game with my chat. Where is the big key? In the basement of the tower, there are 22 chests we will need to check, as one of these chests will have the big key for the tower, the only item needed to progress to the top. My chat's guesses were 11 and 15, and if you want to guess yourself, make sure to leave a number down in the comments. After giving everyone in chat enough time to guess, I head down into the basement to start my checks, and this is how it went. The big key was in chest 17, but unfortunately no one in chat guessed that. But we can now complete the tower, just past the rooms filled with enemies and another Moldworm. Those two, what are you talking about? They are the definition of toxic old man yaoi. I don't know, I think that they just didn't, I mean it's like, you know, Joker and Akechi, you know. Why? Sorry. Oh, how did that happen? At the top of the tower, we face off against Aghanim, and absolutely destroy him at a game of Energy Ball Ping Pong. But as we do, the Dark Wizard reveals that he's actually Ganon himself.
Plot twist.
Ganon flees the scene of the crime and takes refuge at the pyramid, and conveniently enough, our bird friend found a way into the Dark World, and we chase Ganon down for the final showdown. Well, Pod and, at first I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. Ganon as a boss has 4 phases: throwing his staff, creating rings of fire, destroying the floor, and turning off the lights. His first 3 phases are easy to push through, especially with the golden sword, and the 4th phase usually never gives me any issues. But today it decided it wanted to be different. Oh, come on. Oh! We start round 2 against Ganon, and it goes the same as the first. Damage him a bunch until he breaks the floor and turns out the lights. We're supposed to light them again to reveal Ganon, and then strike him when he's vulnerable with the silver arrows. We need to hit him with 4 arrows, and we're able to land 2 on him. But come the 3rd. Third time's the charm on this fight, and this time I took it very carefully. I was able to get to the final phase, and I got shots 1, 2, and 3. And then finally... 4 hit? Surprised it's not Nintendo's lucky number 3. 4. Alright, we did it. After nearly 3 hours of searching, we finally completed our journey and got the Triforce. This randomizer made us get out of our comfort zones, fight in battles we were not prepared for, and trolled us every step of the way, but we came out on top. Link to the Past holds a very special place in my heart, and to be able to play randomizers for the endless replay value of the game makes me very grateful. If you're wondering where this footage came from, it was streamed live on my Twitch at AscendJoker1, so if you'd like to see the randos unfold as I play them, be sure to follow me there as well, link down below. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care.